Our next topic is driving better business outcomes on Facebook using custom audiences, lookalikes, and effective optimization. This session will touch on common sources for audiences, how to set up nested audiences using exclusions, how to test which audiences are best performing, and how to ensure you're giving Facebook enough conversion events for optimization to occur. Please join me in welcoming to the stage our speaker, Spencer Smith, who's Vice President of Marketing at Evocalize.
Sure? Perfect. Well, good morning. I hope everyone has had some good champagne. That is one of the joys of being in Napa. So, I was working with a large tech company. Everyone here in the room has used their products or software at some point. And they were trying to get down to a $20 cost per acquisition on Facebook. They were at $420 cost per acquisition, 21 times what they wanted to be at. And they were debating, can Facebook work for us or should we cut the budget? I was on the sales team supporting this client. Them cutting the budget meant I didn't have a job. And the good news is we were able to get their cost per acquisition down to $17.48 from $420. It took us 6 months. It took us getting the right data, the right creative, the right test and learn, the right optimization strategy. We had failures along the way, but at the end of 6 months, the client was happy, the ad agency was happy, and my boss was happy. So today, I want to talk about how you can drive better business outcomes on Facebook. Or with the rebrand, I was thinking about it, it really should be maximizing meta marketing magic for multimedia in Napa, right? So with that, my name's Spencer Smith. I'm Vice President of Marketing at Evocalize. But before this, I've spent most of my career helping build the ad tech and MarTech industry. I launched CPM advertising, or helped launch CPM advertising globally on the Google Display Network back in the day. I helped do global product launches for Facebook on ad targeting, and then I've spent time on the sales team at Facebook as well. Spent time at Microsoft and some other startups. Now with that, I wanted to try to do a little bit of credibility here. So you can see this is a Facebook company meeting. Mark Zuckerberg, or Zuck, does Q&A. I was about to ask him a question. It had my 2-year faceversary, and then because we're in Napa, I come from a wine region in Oregon. My favorite winery there said, can you help us with our Facebook advertising? So I did some consulting for Russell Fair Rock Vineyards and got paid in wine, which is the best hourly rate I've ever gotten, and perhaps the most enjoyable. Now, I've just done my intros. I'd like to have everyone here introduce themselves. We don't have the time for that, so let me ask a couple questions. How many folks in here are actually running social media paid campaigns themselves? So you're in there, you're pushing the buttons. How many of you have people who are doing it for you? Awesome. How many of you don't touch it, aren't involved with it, you're someone else? Perfect, all right. And then, if you could, how many of you would like to automate your Facebook marketing and your social media paid marketing so that you didn't have to touch it at all? Awesome, all right. So that's not the subject of my talk, that's what Evocalize does. But today, I want to try and lay down some knowledge so that everyone here gains something and leaves the room with something new. Or you all leave with your glass more full than when you came in. For some of you, hopefully your glass gets really full. For others of you who are experts on this, you might just get a little bit extra pour in there. You're going to get that aroma, you're going to be reminded why you like Pinot Noirs, and that's also success. Before we do that, I'm the son and grandson of lawyers, so I have to talk about compliance, right? We know that housing is a special ads category on Facebook. That means that some of the things that are options for us may not be options elsewhere. So you have to declare that ads are related to housing. You have limited targeting options. And then you have special ad audiences instead of lookalike audiences, right? Still the same type of good benefits and outcomes, but slightly different. With the compliance out of the way, we've already hit number 1, which means we're 14% of the way through our agenda. So I want to talk about testing and learning, how to identify your audiences, special ad audiences, the version of lookalikes, optimization best practices, dynamic creative optimization and overlap, and Q&A. Also, I wanted to touch on some of the things that Dave touched on. So I've got some facts about Facebook video ads that we can talk about. And I'd also like to talk about lead ads because I have a slightly different opinion than Dave on the value of lead ads and what they can perform for us in the right situations. So with that, if we think about marketing's goal, right? Because Drew started us with what is our goal, what is our desired outcome, and how do we focus down on that so that we know what success is. And broadly speaking, for marketing, we want to generate relevant demand that drives the business. That's filling units, right? But that's also awareness, consideration, intent, and then actually filling them. And ultimately, we're doing that by putting the right ad with the right message in front of the right person at the right time. And if we keep that as the focus, then we can go through, and that's going to fill into our talk today. So the first is, let's start this with a test and learn approach. Because to have success on Facebook, and the way that we drop that CPA from $4.20 down to $17 was by taking a test and learn approach. We also do this with wine, right? You've got 4 different Gruner Veltliners here. 2 are from Southern Oregon, 2 are from Austria. It's a blind tasting. But as you sit there, you can see, which do I like? Which do I not like? And then you can go out and think about, what other wines do I want? But that's a test and learn. Yes, I taste the terroir. I taste that it was a cold year, whatever it might be. We can do the same thing when it comes to paid social. And if you think about it, it's one of those virtuous cycles, right? You learn, you build, you measure. You can start anywhere on this. But if we start with a hypothesis, I believe that video ads are going to drive better results than static ads. Then we build it. We create a video ad. We test it. It runs. We see how it does. We compare the results. That gives us measurement, right? That gives us the data. The data tells us, did it work or not? And now I know that Dave in the last session was saying marketing should be about the gut. There is definitely an aspect of that, but there's the famous Wanamaker quote, I know that half of my marketing budget is wasted, I just don't know which half. What's beautiful now is that we can actually tell you which half is wasted. And then we can start testing so that you're wasting a quarter of it and an eighth of it, and you move that waste down and make it more efficient and effective. And once you have that test, measure, learn, then you're going to be able to get that virtuous cycle spun up. And it's all right. In a test, measure, learn, you don't have failures because you're learning from the failures. You're saying, okay, we get to X that out. It didn't work? Great, let's put it down. We're not going to work on that anymore. So now, as we start to get into the heart of that, we've got our test, measure, learn thoughts. As we get into the presentation, the first is I want to talk about identifying your audience, right? You want to know who are the people that we want to be coming in, to be renting our units, to be taking action. Just like you might want to say, what is the right wine? Which ones do I want to be drinking? Which are the right ones for the food pairing or whatever the occasion is? So as you think about your audience, they're the people that you know. These are your current renters and tenants. They're past tenants. They're prospects, people who have identified themselves, raised their hand, passed information over to you with contact information. But then there's a much larger world of people that you don't know, but you want to know them. So how do you do that? And really, there's this interesting world in digital where you have this interesting middle ground, where there are people that you kind of know. There are people who have come to your website, who have taken actions, but they haven't said, hi, my name's Spencer. They've said, hi, I'm an anonymous browser who's been looking at unit 37B and other 2-bedroom, 2-baths, right? And so as we talk about people you know and don't know, there's the people you kind of know. And that's important because your first-party audiences, the people that you know, can help you reach the people that you want to know. And as marketers, first-party data is incredibly powerful. But at the end of the day, we need to find new renters. If they're not currently renting from us and they're not a past renter, we need to find them some other way. But our first-party data can inform that. So as we think about that, first-party data lives in lots of different places, and it's very siloed. And so one of the things that we need to do at the beginning is to break down those silos, to bring it all together. As I think back to that example of the large tech firm, they had 3 different Facebook pixels. They had different websites. They had a brand site, they had a product site, and then they drove people to another site that was an online store. They had different pixels at each point. So they were collecting different information. Some people were anonymous or under CCPA, what they would call pseudonymous, right? Mostly anonymous. And we had to first get all that data together. And so depending on your organization, you might want to think about where is the data that you need for success living? Do you have access to all of it? If you don't, think about, are there different privacy policies? How do you get access to it? Do you just need a login? Or do you need someone else who owns that data, who thinks it's theirs, to give you access to it? How can you as an organization look at all of those? Now, a common place that our first-party data lives is in our CRM or in our PMS, right? There's a lot of first-party contact information in there. That's incredibly valuable data. But it's not the only place where our data is going to live. It can also live in email. Now, that could be an email marketing program like HubSpot, or it could live in our Gmail. It could live in the property manager's email account, right? If it never makes it out of that email into your CRM. So there's a lot of valuable data sitting there. Some of it new, some of it may be overlapping, some of it complementary. And this is really important because according to, I think, a Salesforce statistic, 36% of CRM data is out of date, incomplete, or inaccurate within 1 year. So if you think about that database of data that you have that's so essential for marketing, you want to make sure that it's up to date and you're pulling the data in to make sure that it's complete and accurate. So you want to think about, is it living in email systems? It might also be living on your website, or it could be followers on your Facebook page or Instagram or TikTok, wherever it might be. So there's another audience there that may not have made it into your CRM. You also have the pixel, right? It could be a Facebook pixel. It could be any other social media company's pixel that is capturing that website traffic and starting to get those audiences that you don't know, but that you want to know, right? You're seeing some of their behaviors. They're giving you signs of intent. So thinking about the pixel. And then, I don't know, if you saw my desk, a lot of it lives on Post-it notes, right? How many times does someone call? It gets scribbled on a Post-it note. It gets scribbled on a notepad, and it sits on that page of the notepad until the page gets flipped to take the next call. So think about where the data is in your organizations and what you might want access to. You don't have to connect it all to get started, right? That's the good news. So just as Drew was talking about focus, think about what you have control over, start there, and then move on to the next, that cube of creativity. You don't need all of this. If you've just got CRM, great, you've got a starting point. If you just have the pixel, great, you've got a starting point. But it helps to map out what are all the different types of data, because then as you're thinking about your test, measure, learn approach, you can start to say, great, what do we want to test next? What do we want to test next? What can we test? What do we want to test? And where you can't, those two are in opposition, then you can think about, well, what do we need to do to get that data in? So then, once you've got this first-party data, you can go off and do special ad audiences, or in the non-housing world, lookalike audiences. The concept here is simple. How many of you have had a wine that you liked? Excellent. I'm worried about the people who didn't raise the hand. You're either you're playing Angry Birds right now, or you're like thinking about wine, you're shopping for it. So you've had wine that you like. You want to then go find more wine that you like, right? When you go into and you sit down in a restaurant and you say, I'm thinking about wine, and they say, what do you like? Oh, I like a big jammy fruit forward Pinot, right? They're like, okay, we're going to rule out the Willamette Valley. They're light, they're strawberry flavors. So just like wine, where you say, I like this, I want to go find more wines like it. With special ad audiences, you can say, here is an audience that we know and that they have converted and they're a good audience. We want to go find more people like them. These are our best renters who have had the longest tenure, or they pay the most, or whatever other benefit. You want to go find more people who are like them. So, how can you do that? Well, within Facebook, you can reach prospects who are similar to your best performing audiences with special ad audiences. How many people in here are using special ad audiences? Excellent. Okay, good to see. I'm going to call that about 25 to 33% of the audience. So it's good to know folks are. How many people in here want to be using them but aren't? Okay, I saw two hands. Thank you. It's good to know. Thank you for that honesty and let me know. So as you think about it, these are easy to set up. Once you've got that first party data, then you can go in and create a special ad audience. Now I wanted to spend some time, for those of you who are currently using them, want to spend some time ideating about what else could you be doing? What could you be doing in your test and learn? So one idea is if you think about your existing tenants, could do it by longest tenure, by unit type or features. Are they folks who are in the 2-bedroom, 2-bath? Are they folks who want ground floor? Are they the penthouse renters? Or you could do it by property if you have multiple properties. You could think about past tenants, right? And do all of those same criteria. Think about who are the best past tenants. Wow, we really want to go find more people like them. But then we can think about prospects. These might live in your CRM or your email. We can think about folks who have taken a tour, those who have requested a tour, those who have requested information, right? Pretty quickly we can start thinking about all the different combinations and permutations. Thus far we've been talking about known first-party data. But we could think about the website, right? This would be pixel-based. We could do visitors based on time spent, right? So, it's not someone who just came to the site and bounced. They actually spent 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes on the site. That's a pretty high signal of intent. Oh, we want to go find more people like that. Have they looked at specific floor plans? Well, that's really helpful if you're like, these are the folks who've been looking at studios. We should probably be showing them ads for studios. Have they visited the Contact Us page? There's a sense of, they're thinking about contacting you. Again, signal of intent. Have they downloaded any collateral? Have they clicked to schedule a tour? All of those things are great for testing and learning, and you're going to see what works best for you. Facebook and Instagram. Have they watched a video on your page? Do they follow your property? And as you can see on the right-hand side, this is the actual Facebook interface where it says your different sources for setting up custom ad audiences. So website, app activity, video, lead form, instant experience, shopping. So Facebook makes it easy for you to start to identify. So what you see on the left-hand side is just a small smidgen of what you could actually do. So the list goes on and on and on and on, which is great because that keeps giving us things to test and learn and test and learn. So once we have that, another thing to do is nested lookalike audiences. Let me ask, how many folks are doing nested audiences? I saw some hands. And maybe let me define it. So the idea of nested audiences is when you do a lookalike or a special ad audience. Facebook will go and do a percentage. So they can say, these are the people who look most like your audience. And then you can say, here are people who look less like your audience, but are still kind of in that general ballpark. And you can set percentages there. So you can say, I want the 1% of Facebook users who look most like my audience. I want the 5%. The idea of nested lookalikes is creating, or nested custom ad audiences, is the idea of creating a 1% and then a 1 to 2, a 2 to 4, a 4 to 7. Each of these are mutually exclusive audiences. The benefit is you're able to then test, well, the 1%, they look most like my seed audience. So we believe that they're going to convert the best. But they might be more expensive. So what if we actually find audiences who look less like my seed audience, give me more to test from? That might get me cheaper audiences, and maybe because it's cheaper, I might get fewer conversions, but because it's cheaper, I actually am going to get more conversions at a lower cost. So it's beneficial to test these because you're trying to find mutually exclusive audiences to see which work best. And then, as you start to dial it in, again, you could do experiments. So here I've got 0 to 1, 1 to 2. Maybe try 0 to 2, 2 to 4, 4 to 8, whatever it is. It gives you things to keep testing so that ultimately you're getting closer and closer to the bullseye and on target. Now, I want to talk about optimization as well. So this is Hillcrest Vineyard in the Umpqua Valley. There's a whole bunch of barrels here. So just like a vintner uses different oaks, different toast or char levels on them, puts the wine in, and then tries the different barrels, takes out, blends it together, the vintner is optimizing their wine. So too, we can do that on Facebook. And by optimization, again, that test, measure, learn, or taste, measure, learn perhaps, by doing that, it's going to get us closer to our end goal. So with optimization, Meta will optimize your campaigns to maximize performance. But it requires the right signals to do so. And you can start to tell Meta what they should be optimizing on. So as you go in, it'll ask you what do you want to optimize, what's your conversion, where's the conversion located. So you have website, app, Messenger, WhatsApp. You can upload offline data. So if you have something that's living in your CRM, or if you've got a whole bunch of Post-it notes with people's contact information who actually showed up for a tour, you can upload that back and say, hey, these were people who converted, and Meta can optimize to that. We've done a lot of experimentation at Evocalize around optimization. Because we do automation, we're always testing, does the machine do it better, or do we do it better? Should we actually have a human pulling the lever? And what we've found is that, in general, giving Meta the information results in better outcomes than when we try to go in and do some of the changes ourselves. And that's really a valuable thing to know, because it means give Facebook the info and they will try to do the best they can. Another thing that I think is interesting about Facebook, if you think about it, Facebook, if you're not getting enough conversions, they stop running your ad, right? If they're not seeing results, they stop spending your budget, which is a little bit different because than some other ad platforms out there. They're going to do their best to spend all of your budget. And it's something I've always liked about Facebook. I'm biased, right, because I work there, but it's something I like because they're basically saying, we want to get results for you, and if we're not getting you results, we're going to shut it off, and then we're not going to make money. So they're incentivized to try to do the best for you. And so optimization is really a valuable thing. That also, I wanted to talk quickly, I forgot, is we think about lookalike audiences and special ad audiences. There might be some questions of, well, will special ad audiences convert as well? Do they work as well as lookalike audiences because they have more constraints on them? And the answer from our testing is yes. Now you may be saying, wait, how did you test both of those and still stay in compliance? The answer is, when they rolled out special ad audiences a while back, there was a multi-month period where you could test both of them at the same time. So we took a test and learn approach. We ran lookalikes and special ad audiences with the same seed audiences, and we found that the conversion rates were just about the same. A little bit of difference, right? But you can take some solace, perhaps, or confidence in knowing that running a special ad audience is not putting you at a disadvantage to people who are running lookalike audiences. So another little piece of information. So as we get back to optimization and thinking about what do we optimize from, it's also important to talk about, there's changes to what we can do these days, right? Apple rolled out iOS 14, and that has impacts. Their ATT, or App Tracking Transparency, is now impacting. I don't know if anyone noticed a couple months ago when Facebook reported earnings, they talked about the fact that they had a $10 billion shortfall, and they attributed that to what Apple had done, because suddenly there's less data that can be flowing. So it impacts app install campaigns. It can update or impact new delivery statuses, because it can take a while for campaigns to get rolling. It has some limitations on reporting. Reporting won't be as granular. It has targeting limitations, because now there are fewer events that you can target to. And so that changes what can you actually be doing in terms of audiences. It starts to limit how many audiences you can create. And then it impacts dynamic ads. But you'll also see that Facebook has been doing a lot of moves to figure out, how do they improve this? How do they get around this issue? And so they've started saying things like, hey, wait longer before you start making changes to your campaigns, because we need to see enough events to be able to optimize. Another item that they're doing is on some of their reporting. You'll see they're starting to talk about reporting is mock.